Hey folks, I'm going to show you the simplest nutrition strategy to guarantee your results, and I'm going to show you how to track it so you can keep tweaking it so you can get long-term results. That eating strategy is referred to as 80-20. Now, the whole foundation of 80-20 is built off this idea of compliant meals versus non-compliant meals. The simplest way to explain that, compliant, very simple, no matter what your eating methodology, whether you're keto, paleo, plant-based, it doesn't matter. There is a list of foods, whether you have it or not, somewhere there's a list of foods that you're allowed to eat in that eating methodology or that are compliant to that eating plan. There are also the list, which is everything else that would be considered non-compliant. So another term people often use for non-compliant is a cheat meal or an indulgence. Doesn't matter what you call it, it's all the same thing. So 80-20 basically means 80% of the time you're compliant, 20% of the time you can be non-compliant. Okay, in the simplest terms possible, if you're eating 3 meals a day, 7 days a week, that's 21 meals in a week. 80% is 17 compliant meals, 20% be 4 non-compliant meals, or 4 opportunities to indulge and slide into the non-compliant. That 20% is what makes this a long-term eating strategy where you can keep getting results. Because unfortunately, when most people think, okay, I want to lose some fat, or I want to get healthier, I want to reduce inflammation, whatever your goal may be, when most people think of going on a diet, they think of more of a 100 and 0 plan, meaning they have to be perfect all the time and they don't get to indulge. Now the problem is, sometimes you may last 2 days, you may last 2 hours, you may last 2 weeks, 2 months, doesn't much matter. At some point, I guarantee you're going to flame out. And unfortunately, what happens when we flame out, we usually bounce way too far back the other way, which is why we go into these roller coasters of losing weight, gaining weight, etc., etc. So we want to bring it back to something that's more realistic long term. Now, with 80-20, here's the catch. There's also no magic to 80-20. So there are some people that already are eating better than 80-20. So they might be 90-10. Basically, 90-10 would mean there's 2 cheats or 2 indulgences. There are also some people that are on the other side of the curve. Now, it doesn't matter where you are. So 70-30 would mean you have 6 indulgences a week. There's people that are 30-70. There's people that are 10-90. Doesn't matter where you start because there's a road for long-term success. The important thing is knowing where you start. So if you were to track your meals for the next 2 weeks and say you found that on average, you're giving yourself 6 indulgences every week. Now you might have some weeks that are higher, some weeks are lower, but averaging it out, you have 6 indulgences per week. So the idea of 80-20 and how to utilize it for results and long-term results is to say, okay, so this is my average. If I want to be better, again, no matter what your goal is, whether it's fat loss, less inflammation, better health markers, doesn't matter, we need to clean up that diet. The way we're going to clean it up is rather than going 100-0, which we know doesn't work, we're going to just take a step in this direction. Maybe you go to 75-25, maybe you go to 80-20. The idea is you're going to go from 6 non-compliants a week to giving yourself a budget at 80-20 of only 4 non-compliants a week. Then you're going to track it to keep yourself accountable to the plan. Long term, if you can stick to that, obviously much better than that, you're going to start seeing results. Now, here's where it's long term. Once you've successfully done this for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, everyone's going to be a little bit different. You essentially lock that in as now that's just your normal eating strategy. That's just how you eat now. You couldn't even imagine going back that way because it seems like it's more cheats than you need. This is a very good thing. And once we have that locked into place as your normal, that's when you take another step this way if you want to still keep seeing results. You maybe go to 90-10, 85-15. Over time, you just keep tweaking it and making these small steps so you can keep getting results long term. Beautiful thing. Okay? Couldn't get any simpler than that. This is how I track it. This is the sheet that I hand out. It basically gives you the Monday to Sunday, which I'm sure you're all familiar with. And then we have our workout every day. That's simply check yes or no. Mobility, vitamin D, fish oil, probiotics. And then on the bottom, NC meals. So essentially what I do, that's always a number. So it might, if you had a perfect day, for instance, you'd say 0 NC meals. If you nailed 2 out of 3 meals, then you'd put a 1 for NC or non-compliant meals. At the end of the week, you then count up your total non-compliant meals. What your tracking sheet ends up doing is giving you now a blueprint. These yellow boxes, you can put anything you're tracking. Could be your body fat, could be your weight, could be a specific measurement. As you move through the 4 weeks of this tracking sheet, you see how many non-compliant meals you're eating. You'll then, at the end of 4 weeks, see, okay, what was the result? And now, if you're happy with your result, you now have the blueprint of habits of what you have to do to get that result. If you're not happy with your result, you also have a blueprint of what not to do. And know that, okay, it has to be better than whatever we just did in the last month. So track it long term. You can keep making results long term. Okay? I hope that makes tons of sense. Send me an email if you have questions. See you next time.